We're broadcasting from Albuquerque, New Mexico, from New Mexico PBS. Tuesday was another big night for Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. In the Republican race, Trump won all 5 states up for grabs: Pennsylvania, Maryland, Connecticut, Rhode Island, and Delaware. He won at least 54% in every state, capturing most of the delegates up for grabs. In a victory speech in New York, Donald Trump called himself the presumptive nominee and took jabs at Hillary Clinton.
Well, I think the only card she has is the woman's card. She's got nothing else going. And frankly, if Hillary Clinton were a man, I don't think she'd get 5% of the vote. The only thing she's got going is the woman's card. And the beautiful thing is, women don't like her, okay? And look how well I did with women tonight.
John Kasich placed second in 4 of the contests. Ted Cruz placed second in 1. Earlier this week, Kasich and Cruz announced plans to coordinate their campaigns in an effort to deny Trump from reaching the 1,237 delegates needed to win the primary, needed to win the nomination. On the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton beat Bernie Sanders in Pennsylvania, Maryland, Delaware, and Connecticut. Senator Sanders took Rhode Island. During her victory speech, Hillary Clinton reached out to Sanders supporters for their help in defeating the Republicans in November.
In this election, we will have to stand together and work hard to prevail against candidates on the other side who would threaten all those rights and pit Americans against each other. They would make it harder to vote, not easier. They would deny women the right to make our own reproductive health care decisions. They would round up millions of hardworking immigrants and deport them. They would demonize and discriminate against hardworking, terror-hating Muslim Americans who we need in the fight against radicalization. And both of the top candidates in the Republican Party deny climate change even exists. Now, the other day, Mr. Trump accused me of playing the, quote, woman card. Well, if fighting for women's health care and paid family leave and equal pay is playing the woman card, then deal me in.
Well, the Clinton camp is now saying it's virtually impossible for Bernie Sanders to catch up in the delegate race for the Democratic nomination. Sanders maintained Tuesday he will make the strongest candidate in November.
We were in New York State last week. 3 million people in New York State could not vote because they were independents. Well, you know what? Those folks and independents all over this country will be voting in November for the next president of the United States. And in most cases, we win the independent vote by a 2-to-1 margin.
To make sense of Tuesday's results and the race going forward, we're joined by 4 guests here in New Mexico, which will hold its own primary on June 7th. New Mexico, if it seceded from the United States, some say it would be the 3rd largest nuclear power in the world. New Mexico is also one of the poorest states in the country, and it's one of just 4 majority-minority states where the majority of the state's residents are people of color. Joining us now are former New Mexico Governor Gary Johnson. He's now running for president as a Libertarian and was the Libertarian nominee for president in 2012. He was a Republican during his 2 terms as governor of New Mexico from 1995 to 2003. Dianne Dennis is the former lieutenant governor of New Mexico who's endorsed Hillary Clinton for president. Jerry Ortiz-y-Pino is a Democratic member of the New Mexico State Senate who's endorsed Bernie Sanders. And Sue Wilson Beffert is a Republican member of the New Mexico State Senate who's not endorsed any presidential candidate yet. We welcome you all to Democracy Now! Let's go to former Governor Gary Johnson first. Can you respond to what's called the Acela primaries in the Northeast, the states that Donald Trump swept? You're a former Republican governor. Your thoughts?
Well, I just think he is going to get the nomination. I think he's going to get the nomination, and I think he's the most polarizing figure among Republicans. I think he alienates over half of Republicans, and I know you're asking me for my thoughts on Trump, but I think Hillary really is in the same category, that she is very polarizing, and that arguably we have the two most polarizing figures in American politics today. They're going to be the nominees, and when 50% of Americans right now are saying that they're independent, well, at the end of the day, maybe the two of them represent 30% of the electorate.
Sue Wilson-Beffert, your thoughts on what just took place, not only last night, Donald Trump taking 5 states, but also the deal being worked out in New Mexico and other states, that Kasich could take New Mexico and Ted Cruz could take other states. Your thoughts about this?
Well, my sense was that Trump was going to take those states had that not happened. And yet I think that the people spoke when they expressed disdain for a deal. I can imagine if I was supporting either Trump or Kasich, and then all of a sudden I heard that they were not going to be running in my state. And so these types of maneuvers or shenanigans or whatever, I think the people are expressing with the Trump vote that they want access to electing their president. They want to have that first vote. They do not want delegates elected, such as Colorado, where the people didn't even get their first vote. And so I think that we're seeing this type of reaction that really, I think, is earmarking a brand new style in politics.
What do you think of Donald Trump?
I think that Donald Trump, unlike Secretary Clinton, I think that Donald Trump is truly a non-politician. He has become one very quickly. And I think that the media in particular has been very against his candidacy. And therefore, the negative questions that have been proposed to him right out of the chute, I think, have caused some negative reactions for the way that he answered those questions. And I would speak in particular about the issue of women. I thought that Megyn Kelly's question was slanted and biased and actually untrue. He did not say what she indicated about women. He was referring only to one spat that he had with a female comedian. And so I thought that that was an inappropriate question for a first question for the whole country to say, this is our president. Is the female issue the most important thing that this world is facing with al-Qaeda and ISIS and the economy the way it was? I just thought that that was a very targeted, very negative question that really was formalized to back him in that corner.
Diane Dennis, your thoughts on this? You are the former lieutenant governor under Governor Richardson here. You ran for governor. You were defeated by the current governor, Susana Martinez. Your thoughts on Donald Trump on the issue of women?
Well, he has a long history of saying terrible things about women. And while in agreement with Sue Beffert, there's some very much more important issues. Women, I believe, are going to flock to Hillary Clinton in droves. She's put together a very diverse coalition of voters. If you look at Pennsylvania and Maryland last night, African Americans, women voted for her in 65% or more numbers, and that's happening across the country. Women understand when a man uses language like code language and says things about a woman's looks, trying to position her. Hillary Clinton has proved over the years she has the experience and the temperament and the qualifications. I actually heard a Trump spokesman last night say, no one really goes into the job of president ready to do the job. Well, I beg your pardon. Hillary Clinton comes to the job with foreign policy, domestic experience, and has been tested over 25 years against the most negative language in the country, and she's ready to do the job. So I think Donald Trump will ignite the women's vote in favor of Hillary Clinton.
State Senator Sue Wilson Bedford, the comment you were referring to, the question of Megyn Kelly's during one of the debates, she said, when it comes to women, you've called them fat pigs, dogs, slobs, and disgusting animals. I mean, she was quoting him.
Yeah, I disagree with that statement in the plurality of the way that she questioned him. He was referring to a spat that he had, I think, with Rosie McDonald or whomever it was, in a singular situation. And I would just like to say that I think that we're going to see that women see through a lot of what's been happening, the veil that has put on Mr. Trump in this election. And I think you're going to see a lot of women saying all the things that he stands for. They want safety, they want jobs, they want all the things that he stands for. And I would expect that in his own company that you would see that he really has honored women and has moved them up in high positions. And I had just not heard those things about him prior to that statement. And again, I go back to that was not what you ask a presidential candidate in the first debate.
I guess the suggestion was that's not what a president sounds like. I think each of those were referring to different incidents. But let me ask you something else that has concerned many people, and it was that moment in February when Donald Trump came under criticism for wavering on whether or not he wants the support of the former Ku Klux Klan leader, David Duke. He was speaking on CNN with Jake Tapper. Trump refused to disavow Duke's support or the support of other white supremacists. Let's just play it for a moment.
Well, just so you understand, I don't know anything about David Duke, okay? I don't know anything about what you're even talking about with white supremacy or white supremacists. So I don't know. I mean, I don't know, did he endorse me or what's going on? Because, you know, I know nothing about David Duke. I know nothing about white supremacists. And so you're asking me a question that I'm supposed to be talking about people that I know nothing about.
But I guess the question from the Anti-Defamation League is, even if you don't know about their endorsement, there are these groups and individuals endorsing you. Would you just say unequivocally you condemn them and you don't want their support?
Well, I have to look at the group. I mean, I don't know what group you're talking about. You wouldn't want me to condemn a group that I know nothing about. I have to look. If you would send me a list of the groups, I will do research on them, and certainly I would disavow if I thought there was something wrong. But you may have groups in there that are totally fine, and it would be very unfair. So give me a list of the groups, and I'll let you know.
Okay. I mean, I'm just talking about David Duke and the Ku Klux Klan here, but
I don't know. Honestly, I don't know David Duke. I don't believe I've ever met him.
So that was Donald Trump talking to Jake Tapper on CNN. Your response to that?
You know, again, Mr. Trump has not been a politician. He has not been used to what I would say gotcha questions that many politicians that have been very carefully coached over the years know how to react to press and that sort of thing. I think the name
he is very quick on his feet. He does respond quickly.
He is, but I think that the name of the group that was mentioned, not the David Duke name, but the name of the group, I probably wouldn't have known what that group was either if I was just asked on the side. Now, if he was probably better prepared, he would have handled that question better.
I mean, Jake Tapper did say to him, I'm talking about the Ku Klux Klan.
Yeah.
So let me ask Jerry Ortiz-Pino.
No. It was another group that said that they had endorsed anyway. And so I think that was an error of Donald Trump. And again, I think that as he matures, that he will be much better prepared for questions that come out of that nature. And I'm sure that he probably wishes that he had just immediately answered it differently, because I do not see him as a prejudiced person or a person that doesn't like certain groups. And I just I just think that that was probably a low point for his answering.
Well, let me go to another state senator here in New Mexico across the aisle and across the table from you, Jerry Ortiz-Pino. Your response to these comments of Donald Trump from women to the hesitation to disavow the claim.
Oh, I think what we've seen from Donald Trump throughout this campaign has been an incredible ability to say outrageous things and to get more popular support as a result of it. And unfortunately, he's able to tap a vein within the voting public that just frightens me for the future. The kind of debates that Bernie Sanders and Hillary Clinton have had during this whole month after month lead up to the nomination have been very interesting, very exciting. Issues have been discussed. Differences have been clarified. When the Republicans debate, because Trump is so polarizing, they talk about each other's wives. They talk about, just insults, name calling. I really fear for this country during a presidential election in which Trump is the nominee on one side. And I think our chance to explore issues will pretty much be over when the Democratic convention ends. After that, it'll just be who can paint the other opponent as the nastiest person possible. And if that's the deterioration of our political debate, there's no civil discourse going on with that kind of a candidate. So I'm really hesitant to say that, maybe he'll mature, maybe he'll get better, I think he knows exactly why he is popular, because he isn't mature, because he doesn't get better. He just says outrageous things and uses it.
It's interesting. Donald Trump said he wasn't familiar, for example, with David Duke, but he had spoken about him in the past. The New York Times quoted Trump in February of 2000 as saying, so the Reform Party now includes a Klansman, Mr. Duke, a neo-Nazi, Mr. Buchanan, and a communist, Ms. Fulani. This is not company I wish to keep. He was very definite then.
I have to say, as a border state, I'm just incensed over the things that he says, that he's going to deport 11 million illegal immigrants. That's just crazy. That he's going to build a fence across the border. That's just crazy. That he's going to kill the families of Islamic terrorists. Every time he says one of these things, it just gets crazier and crazier. Banning Muslims from the United States, says he's all for free market, but then in the next sentence he says he's going to force Apple to make their iPads and their iPhones in the United States. And then just a couple of weeks ago, these comments about abortion. Well, yes, the woman should be punished. And then a couple of hours later talking about, well, gee, let me clarify that, the doctors should be punished. Amy, I've been in New Hampshire. I've been in the Midwest running for president as a Republican before I made the switch over to Libertarian. What I've seen is that 30% of Republican voters believe the scourge of the earth is Mexican immigration. And it was my voice out there that was saying, look, they're not, first of all, they're cream of the crop when it comes to workers. They're not taking jobs that U.S. citizens want. It's not an issue of lower pay unless it's an issue of language, and they're the first ones that want to overcome that. And then on top of that, I get this pitch that Trump is making to the country. So that's 30 points of his 39% support. The other 9% is people are picking up on the fact that, hey, I've run this successful business. I'm going to apply these business principles to government and just watch how well it works, which, by the way, was the same pitch I made to New Mexico when I ran for governor.
State Senator Sue Wilson Beffert, do you think your former governor, Gary Johnson, is representing Republicans' point of view? Your thoughts on immigrants on the border and setting up a wall, preventing Muslims, in another policy statement he has made, saying Muslims should be banned from entering the United States?
Well, of course, Governor Johnson was a breath of fresh air. We all
Others describe that as a different scent, by the way. But anyway.
He was a non-politician as well, and did some great things as a non-politician. I think as a border state, New Mexico really does present the issues that this country is facing. I would say that, first of all, most of the other candidates don't take ad hoc interviews from the press, and so they're better coached and don't get these types of questions. And I think he's learned a lesson that he probably should be a little more specific about what types of interviews that he's going to do just for these questions. But in terms of the border, for instance, New Mexico is extremely porous, and we have seen guns coming up through Mexico. We know that they have been landing in northern New Mexico and distributed. We've seen the drugs. We have one of the highest drug overdose per capita in the whole United States. And I don't think that Trump is planning to have police go and pull people out of their houses. He will have a very sophisticated plan of encouraging people to go and come through the correct way. And I think that if you were to talk to the ranchers down in southern New Mexico, you would see why they are scared. Just last week, there was a report where ISIS said that they were going to come up through Mexico. I mean, these are things that are actually coming in the press. And so,
yes, Diane Denich.
Well, I think what Senator Befford is saying is just exactly what Donald Trump. He's dangerous. He's divisive. And he wants people to be scared. And obviously, it's worked with Senator Befford. We don't have any proof that guns are coming to northern New Mexico. That's all rhetoric. New Mexico has been a multicultural state. We are what America is going to be in a few years. We are a minority-majority state. We've had integrated, very mixed Hispanic leadership and Anglo leadership. And the fact that Donald Trump wants to scare people and tell them that the people that are coming are murderers and rapists, we don't have any instances of that in New Mexico. That is just not happening. And so it's just not accurate. It's not fact-based.
The rate of crime among immigrants, illegal, legal, is much lower than U.S. citizens. They're walking on eggshells. What's not being acknowledged is that these workers, these immigrants, are cream of the crop when it comes to workers. And really what needs to be done is just make it as easy as possible to get a work visa. And a work visa should entail a background check and a Social Security card so that applicable taxes get paid. Just make the line moving. You got people in Juarez, you got Mexicans in Juarez that see jobs that exist in El Paso. They can't get across the border. There's no moving line to get across the border illegally or legally, so they have to cross illegal to get the jobs that they see are there. And right now, by the way, there's this reverse migration taking place because there are more jobs right now in Mexico than there are in the United States. And how much of that border violence has to do with drug prohibition?
What do you mean? Well, wait, let's talk about that in our next segment, but I want to get last word in from State Senator Jerry Ortiz-Pino.
Well, I think the issue really is that when you attack immigrants, you become very popular. And that's what Donald Trump is doing. That's what Susana Martinez has done in this state.
The governor,
our current governor. And even though there's no evidence, and Governor Johnson is absolutely right, there really is no evidence that there's a higher crime rate among immigrants or that they pose a greater danger than the rest of us. By attacking them, you're attacking somebody, A, who can't vote, and B, who's competing for jobs at the lowest rung on the ladder. And so you're able to paint them as the boogeyman, you're able to paint them as the cause of all problems and get away with it because you don't have to pay the consequences. They will not vote against you.
Let me clarify that issue. First and foremost, I don't think that he was implying that all immigrants, we have wonderful immigrants working in New Mexico and California and the such. However, when you sit in a formal legal committee in New Mexico, a standing committee as a legislator, it's not hearsay when you have the reports from public safety talking about the issue of the dangerous nature of guns coming through. It is not hearsay when they tell us about the overdose problem and what has plagued our wonderful communities here in New Mexico. So, yes, the green card, the government has caused a big problem. They should have been issuing these green cards readily. They should have allowed that, but since for whatever government red tape or whatever that hasn't occurred, it's caused this problem. But I did want to clarify the fact that when you hear the officials, when you're in a committee hearing, that is not just scaring the public.
We're going to break and then come back to this discussion. We're talking with two New Mexico state senators, Republican Sue Wilson Befford and Democrat Jerry Ortiz-Pino. And we're speaking with the former lieutenant governor of New Mexico, Dianne Dennis, who ran for governor. Gary Johnson is also with us. He was a Republican governor here in New Mexico, and now he is running for the Libertarian nomination to be the Libertarian candidate for president. When he ran in 2012, he got more votes, what was it, 1.3 million votes, than all the other independent candidates combined. This is Democracy Now!